Anyways, so I'm Tom Leeds. Welcome to Skepticon 8, also known as Tom, your friendly neighborhood atheist, if anybody has seen me on YouTube. Anybody? I've added Tom to friendly neighborhood atheists because there's lots of friendly neighborhood atheists. Are there any friendly neighborhood atheists here? Any? No? Oh, one? All right. Two? All right. So, I want you to get a conversation on exposing atheists for who they really are. Because a lot of atheists get the bad rap of being mean, evil people. Isn't deserved. And, I read some this morning. I overheard him say, this is an atheist conference. Like, well, actually, it's a skeptics conference. He goes, oh, that's better because skeptics are better than atheists. I go, really? Why is that? Well, atheists are intellectually bankrupt. Oh, really? Why is that? What gave you the indication that atheists are intellectually bankrupt or morally bankrupt? Is another favorite one. Another one is that we're mean, terrible people. We're baby eaters. We're Satan worshippers. We get told this all the time, even though most of us are pretty calm and collected people, and we don't really have anything that makes us stand out as atheists. So, but when you do expose yourself as an atheist, have you ever heard this? You're an atheist, but you seem so nice. That's I'm not as practiced as I wanted to be, so bear with me, please. Oh, who here would believe that there's probably 50% of people are atheists?
15?
50.
In the world?
I wouldn't go that high. In the country. Well,
in this
what percentage of atheists do you think are in the U.S.?
21.
Yeah. Now, and what percentage do you hear there are in the U.S.?
2.
Well, I think there's a reason for that is most atheists don't want to say they're atheists. Most atheists still go to church because their family goes to church and that's what their family does. They don't really believe, but they go along because they don't want to stand out. They don't want to be known as the angry guy, the baby eater, the Satan worshiper. I get that from my family, which is pretty comical. It's like, you raised me. Did you raise me to be a Satan worshiper? It's like, no, we raised you to be a Christian. Like, well, you need to do a very good job. So, you don't have to be, let's see, that's the one I want to, yes. You don't have to be outspoken to let people that know that you're an atheist. You can just, bring up a conversation. But I think it's important to let people know that you are an atheist. You don't have to make a big deal of it. Just slip it in. I mean, assuming that they're not going to get pissed off, assuming they're not going to be, disown you. But I think it's important to let people know that there are more atheists than anyone realizes. Even when you go to church, I go to church with my wife, and I let everyone know I'm an atheist. I'm at church. I'm not, not going to burn my parents think, aren't you afraid the holy water is going to get on you? Also, you don't need to be, you don't need to hold a sign to be an activist. Being here right now makes you an activist. Being here right now makes you part of the solution as far as making atheism more recognizable as friendly people. We're not out there with protesting. We're not out there with signs. We're not out there, saying, Planned Parenthood is bad. We're not out there condemning the system. We're not out there, condemning the world for what it is. We're not telling anybody they're going to hell. So, the best way to be an atheist, the best way to be an activist is to be a good example. The best way is to show that being an atheist just means you're a regular person. The only thing that makes you an atheist is just one little thing. That is, you don't accept the claim that there's a God. That's it. I get told all the time, oh, you're an atheist, evolution is your religion, science is your religion, Richard Dawkins is your God. Like, no, I know actually no atheists who don't even believe in evolution. You don't need to believe in evolution to be an atheist. You only need one thing, and that is to not accept the claim that there's a God. You can accept that there might be a God because we don't know, and that's the big argument. You can't not know. But yeah, we're not claiming to not know. We're just claiming that what you say is not real. So it helps to know what you're being a good example of. And you want to represent atheism as basically everything what religion says they are, but do a better job of it. How many people of you know Christians who are not nice people? But Christians are all good. You're God's people.
Only true Christians.
Only true Christians? Yeah, those other Christians, they're bad people. How many of you heard that? Those other Christians don't know what they're talking about. So, a lot of people are afraid to say they're an atheist, either because of how their family's going to react, or how their friends are going to react, or even how their neighbors are going to react. I know people who are afraid because they're, I work for a Jewish company, and it's always in the back of my mind, if I'm outspoken as an atheist, are they going to be, you can't be an atheist. But half my family is Jewish. And one thing I noticed about a lot of Jews, and Judaism in general, it's a lot more secular. I would say a very large proportion of Jews are actually atheists. They're only cultural Jews. And that's one of the things I've seen in videos. I think religion is not a bad thing. Religion can be a good thing. It's this dedication that God is real that's a bad thing. I think of being a cultural Jew or even a cultural Christian. They usurped Christmas. Christmas is fun. My parents said, how can you raise your child and not give him Christmas? Like, why would I not have Christmas? Well, you're an atheist. And Christmas is pagan, so what's your point? So adopting, religious traditions is fun. Well, some of them. So being in the closet is well and good. Who has ever heard that it's easier to come out of the closet gay than it is atheist? It seems kind of crazy, doesn't it? Homosexuality has come a long way since I was a kid. But just the fact that you can almost understand if your sexual orientation is different than your parents. They can't wrap their heads around that. But to not accept God, to be a sticking point, I know so many people whose parents have literally told them, if you don't believe in the God, you cannot live in this house. Anyone here? That just seems insane. It's like, what part of being a good Christian, what part of your all-loving God is telling you, kick your kids out of the house? So, one of the things I advocate is, social media is free. And you don't have to have everything on one service. You can duplicate it or just have different services. Like Facebook, Twitter, Google, YouTube, now the obvious ones. What other social medias do people use commonly? Snapchat?
Oh, totally. Periscope.
Periscope, that's the one you basically take a video, but every go
It's like brand new, yeah.
But like with Facebook, I had my friends and I had my Facebook account, and that was friends and family, and I post what I thought because I've been an out atheist basically since I've been alive, and the flack I got from family. Why do you have to post that stuff? Why do you have to say that stuff? It's like, why do you have a problem with that? And finally, I just got to the point where I was tired of them complaining, tired of them giving me the hairy eyeball. So I just created a second Facebook account. And there I'm free to say whatever I want. I've actually had family members find that one and still complain, so I block them. But there I'm free to say whatever I want. I'm free to interact with whoever I want. I've met thousands of people. And it's completely, it's a safe place. You don't even have to give your real name, which is, for some people, that's important. You can just have a persona. And speaking of personas, let's see, kind of out of sequence. One of the things I advocate is being very active in social media, being very active as an out atheist, also making videos. I'd like to have everybody make videos. And I've had people say, isn't there an oversaturation of atheists on YouTube? Like, I don't know, there's no saturation for Christians. They're out there putting crap everywhere. And the things they say are crazy. At least an atheist is more likely to say something a little bit more rational. I get complaints from mostly Christians. It's like, but you can't prove the things that you're saying. It's like, I'm not saying anything I'm trying to prove. I'm just telling you, think about what you're telling me. Putting yourself out there is just a way of promoting that atheists are nice people. Now, I was thinking to who here has a smartphone? Here's everyone. Congratulations. Now you can be a YouTuber. You've got everything that you need, assuming you have an internet connection, of course. It takes nothing. It takes no special equipment other than a simple camera. You don't have to do any special video editing. Most cameras take better videos than they had 20 years ago for high-end equipment. So you can just use your smartphone to take a pretty high quality video, and most apps will go right up to YouTube. So it's very easy to do videos. But one important thing to do is to consider what your message is. You want to not just put up the crap like Christians do. They seem to just like do a video of like, atheists are bad and dirt, blah 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 blah. They don't really say anything. They just talk and make craziness. But so you got to think about what your message is. What are you trying to say? You also got to think about who your audience is. Now this is a trick question. Your audience is not the audience. Your audience is you. Your audience is, what do you want to see online? If you're thinking about a video, when you see somebody else's video, what do you think they should be saying? Well, that's what you should be saying. You should be the one that you're aiming your message towards, because your message actually will relate to a lot of people, but it's finding those people. So if you make your video that you want to see, people will find it. Because having a persona could switch. And so this goes by persona. I found if I skip it one. Because sometimes you can lose track of, if you try to fake it online, you can lose track of what you're trying to say. I've even watched The Amazing Atheist, who's more known as the Angry Atheist now. I mean, a couple years ago, his videos were pretty good. He had a pretty good message, and now he's just like a ranting madman. So be honest with who you are. Be who you are. Don't try to be a character. Just be the person you want to see on YouTube. Because what is it you're trying to promote? Do you want to promote yourself? Do you want to be a YouTube sensation? Do you want to be a YouTube star? Or do you want to promote a positive outlook of atheism? Let's see. So I have a game plan when you're doing the video. Introduce yourself. Look for Tom Leeds on Google, and you'll find my videos. I say who I am. I say what my subject is. I say my piece, and I get out. They're very short, sweet. You don't have to say a lot. Just go there, give as good of an impression as possible, and that's it. A lot of these videos, they just ramble on from subject to subject, and it's like, what are they talking about? So I was thinking to do a mock video, but I didn't really work out how I could do that. So if anybody later would like to see what it's like just to do a video, it's really easy. I mean, just tripod, your phone, and a couple of minutes. Responding. This is a sticky point. Like the guy this morning. My immediate reaction is, you're a fucking idiot. But I didn't say that. I kept my cool and asked him why. Responding with the why question is very important. When somebody makes a crazy claim, don't try to tell them they're wrong. Ask them, why do you think that's true? Because I mean, everyone's watching, especially on YouTube and Google. When you post something, everyone can see it. And who you're talking to is not necessarily the person that you're talking to. Who you're talking to is everyone who's in the sidelines. And like I said, there's a lot more atheists than anyone knows. And a lot of them don't even know they're atheists. They're questioning whether or not they believe in God. And they're looking for answers, but they don't really want to take part in the conversation. They're just contemplating on their own, but they're seeing what other people are thinking about it. So that's what I'm going to here. So the important thing in most social media is basically making connections, finding people you can relate to, people you can have conversations. And like I said, the people who are watching these conversations are both people who understand where you're coming from and those who think you're an idiot. And you want to, you don't want to give them a reason to think you're an idiot. One guy I've been on Facebook, he has a very negative impression of atheists, even though he calls himself agnostic, but he's pretty much atheist. But he has this memory of how he was treated by atheists. You know, atheists were assholes to him. And anyone watching that conversation that he had online also thought these atheists were assholes. And even though he found, you know, he let go of his belief on his own, it probably would have been a lot easier and a lot quicker had the atheists he come into contact with had been helpful or had been, you know, kind or at least understanding. So, real quick, I need somebody to be a fundamentalist Christian and somebody to be an outspoken atheist. Any volunteers? Thomas True. How about you, Mike? You want to be a... No?
What am I doing?
You do it. Okay.
Do we get to choose, or do you assign us?
I will assign you, since you're already well practiced at being the fundamentalist Christian.
Yes.
You already know what you're doing.
All right.
So, what is the most outrageous claim you've ever made to someone?
Did you know that according to science, all the ground on the earth, if it was equal, would be underwater, submerged by 2 miles of water? That proves the flood was true.
Can you cite a source on that?
I was going to say,
Well, it was in this book that I read,
I have a book.
and it had a lot of science in it. It talked about the flood and the earth stopping and how all that happened. There you go.
The Harvard Review. Yeah.
I'm not familiar with that. What's the Harvard Review?
Let me start.
Is that some, you know, evil intellectual book?
Let me start right there. One of the problems with asking for society claim, obviously they don't have claim safety or cite source for the claim because their source is bullshit. They don't know it's bullshit. And also they immediately get defensive. Yeah. They immediately like, oh, like you're some kind of expert. Like coming at them is like, well, why do you believe that? It's like, yeah, it's like, well, I have faith. It's like, and why do you have faith? And you can whittle down and make them think about what they're saying rather than defend what they're saying. Because that's the trouble most atheists have. Not that we think we're experts or know-it-alls, but we know what they're saying is bullshit, and our immediate reaction is to call bullshit on them. And say, that's stupid. Why would you think something like that? And it's a trap that I've fallen into many times. When somebody says something really just mind-boggling stupid, you just want to say, you're an idiot. But you got to remember, there's somebody watching that conversation, and when you call somebody an idiot, they're like, oh, yeah, atheists are all that. And they immediately have a bad impression of atheism, and then they don't want to question their belief, because obviously their belief is Christians are good and kind and moral.
Well, one of the things that it's been said to me several times by several different Christians is, were you there? When you talk about, you know, any science, whether it's evolution or the age of the earth or...
This probably had nothing to do with what he's getting ready to say, but whenever somebody says something to the effect, were you there, or the earth is 6,000 years old, the universe, I use their same logic and argument to say the universe is 15 minutes old, because their reasoning is exactly the same as the proof to say it's that long. well, God set everything in place. Yeah, he set it in place 16 minutes ago, so here we are.
With all your memories intact. He created you perfectly with all your memories intact 15 minutes ago. Prove me wrong. Yeah,
Did that help with your question?
well, I always, it's like Abraham Lincoln. Prove Abraham Lincoln. Were you there? I mean, you can say, were you there? I mean, that's one of the more ridiculous arguments. Were you there? It's like, well, you weren't there, so why ask me if I was there?
You did pretty good on asking for the source.
Dark Matter did episode 1 with Ken Ham, How to Solve Crimes, and they would just went through just all this evidence, crazy evidence that was obviously, crime had been committed. And at the very end, it's like, well, were you there? Oh, we're gonna let him go. Like, how can we let him go? Were you there? No. Well, neither were we, so we'll let him go. Okay.
Are we done?
Yes.
Okay, send us your check.
So, we're playing around with the wording of this. Try not to be mean or belittling. Or try to not be mean or belittling. You don't want to make people feel stupid, because making people feel stupid immediately puts up their defenses, immediately makes them stop listening, immediately makes them think you're an asshole. I was thinking I could be on here, but I need my glasses. Oh. So I already kind of covered this. Much of the time, the person you're talking to is not the person listening. Be it in a crowded room, having a conversation with somebody, there's other bystanders listening, or be it online, people are watching what you say, or even when you post a picture, a meme, or video. The people that you want to see that message are not necessarily the ones that are going to see the message. So you want to put out a message that is friendly to everyone. Because like I said, putting up blocks is the way to stop people from understanding why atheists are why atheists don't believe in God. Because they've been conditioned their entire life. They've been conditioned for thousands of years. We have thousands of years of tradition of people believing God explained why things are. So letting go of that belief, of generations of the belief, is very difficult. I mean, I'm fortunate, though even though I was raised to be Christian, I never believed. So it was never a question. I was actually surprised when I found that my family believed. So, how you respond matters. This goes back to the one a couple slides ago. Every atheist here, I'm guessing, at one point believed that there was God. Yes? Has anyone? No? How many people here started off as an atheist who never recognized that there was a God?
Everybody is an atheist.
Well, you're born an atheist, but when you start thinking about it, from the time that you're born, your family is telling you God's real. I mean, babies are baptized. They're immediately taken to church. They're immediately told God's real. So babies, they're not really thinking. They're just taking it all in. So even though you're born an atheist, you're not really an atheist. Because an atheist is, I say an atheist is someone who's actually thought about the question of God and decided that, nah, it doesn't make any sense. Because, I mean, I've had this argument with people, it's like a rock at a table is an atheist. A rock is an atheist. If you don't believe in God, that makes you an atheist, and anything's an atheist. It's like, well, technically that's true. But what really makes you an atheist is you've thought about God. You've considered God. You've looked at the history of God. And you've come to realize that the history is God is man-made. God is the creation of man. God was created to answer the questions man had that he had no answers for. And nowadays, most of these answers that we have, we do have. And God, has anyone noticed that God has been moved from God walks with you on the beach, just sets footprints on the sand, to God is beyond space and time? There's a reason for that. Because in the quick
You got to raise it now.
But over the last couple hundred years, God has moved out farther and farther. I mean, once upon a time, the heavens were the heavens. They were right above us. Hell was right below us. because they didn't know what was right above us and what was right below us. So they just assumed that was heaven and hell. And now that we know it isn't above us, heaven is now this faraway place. And hell is, I still don't know where hell is, because anyone who thinks it's the center of earth is well,
Utah.
also believing that the earth is 6,000 years old, I guess. But most atheists have at one point been a believer in something, because they were taught to believe. And they either came out of it on themselves, out of it on their own, by reasoning through it, or they listened to enough conversations of other people that they determined what they were saying made a lot more sense than what their preacher was saying. So it's very important to be part of that conversation that shows reasoning and rationality. So, the Bible's not all bad. Religion's not all bad. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. That's a nice saying. And it doesn't have to be the Word of God. Adopting traditions of religion is, or not so much adopting, but keeping traditions of religion doesn't necessarily make you religious. And taking the phrases of religion doesn't make you religious. You can keep the good parts and let go of the nonsense, which is the belief in God. You can tell people that just because you stop believing in God doesn't automatically make you immoral. How many of you have you ever heard someone say, if I didn't believe in God, I'd be raping and murdering and pillaging? It's like, if God is the only thing holding you back, you are not moral. You might think you are, but you're not. If your morality is based on a law that's telling you you can't do that, you're not a moral person. Therefore, I'm a more moral person. I mean, because I rape and pillage and kill all I want. I just don't want to. This is going quicker than I thought. So, I want to cover out what's also very important. So, does anybody here sell anything or have a Patreon account, have their own YouTube channel? Thomas True. Does anybody here do anything that they would like to support their activism? Does anyone do anything that they would like to support their activism, be it selling stuff or Patreon? Because when it comes to activism, there's two kinds of people. Those who do it as a hobby, like myself. I've got a full-time job. I do videos because I've got a message that I want to put out there. I want to promote a world of positive atheism, basically because I have a daughter. I want the world to be better for her. But a lot of people, this is their goal. This is what they want to do for life. This is their calling. This is, they want to make the world a better place, and that's what they want their job to be. And they're putting it all on the line. So one thing I continually say is, support the people who support the things you support. Now, coming here is doing that. Donating money is really doing that. This is a fantastic conference, and it's free. And it's free for, the main reason for students, people who don't have money, who want to go to a conference, but they can't afford it. So this is a great conference that is free that they can come to. But of course, they need money to put on a conference like this. And those who have money, you don't have to be rich, but throwing them some money goes a long way in helping something like this be free. So there's conferences, and there's all kinds of conferences. There's ones like this that are free, which are fantastic. Thomas True did Gateway to Reason, which was a fantastic conference. And it was great value too. I'm not sure the value will be as good this year, but looking forward to it. And most of these conferences are, for a weekend conference, most of them are relatively cheap. Like this one's free. Gateway was, well, that's very cheap. Well, one thing like you did is having a tiered system. There's the basic ticket for those who don't have much money, and it gears up so you can basically be donating more money for, Skepticon. Gives me extra money, and I get an extra special gift, which is sunglasses. Which is a trinkle just to show appreciation. You're not buying, the upgrade. You're offering more money because you can afford more money. Things like TV and radio. Anybody here listen to Dogma Debate? It's a great, very, very long show. I don't know if you've noticed recently, he's been really pushing the I Am Fourth fund. One thing that David Smalley and all of them do is they not only want the world to be a better place, they want to help everybody, but they don't want to be like the churches. They don't want to be constantly asking for money. They've actually set up where tiered membership, where a portion of that money will go towards a fund to help people. If any of you listen to the show, quite often they'll have somebody who's they've been kicked out of their house, or because they don't believe, has been a dramatically traumatic event for them because of being kicked out or such. And he wants to help people. But in order to help people, you have to help him. Anybody watch the Atheist Experience or Matt Dillahunty's debating lectures? I mean, if anyone was here last year, if anyone's seen him speak, I love watching him speak because he's always off the cuff. He doesn't do any slides. He just gets the subject and he goes. Kind of like David Smalley, who goes on for hours. But he needs money to do that. He doesn't need a lot of money. But he's dedicated his life to wanting to promote positive atheism. And we as a group, an organization, need to support those who are supporting the things that we want done. We want the world to be a better place. Not all of us are going to do videos. Not all of us are going to promote actively. So we need to help those who are doing what we don't necessarily want to do. Seth Anderson, another really good one. So we got other YouTubers. Is everyone familiar with Patreon? Patreon is basically the ability to pay somebody for what they're doing. Not so much anonymously, but they have an account set up, and you can just throw them a few bucks just to help them keep doing what they're doing. Either a one-time donation or a monthly donation. But it's being made very easy. Mark mentioned there's eBay, or not eBay, PayPal is also introducing a similar deal where you're able to donate money to people directly. Let's see, we don't have so many tables out here. I think this one, they changed the way they're doing. But people who are selling books and t-shirts and such, they're doing it for two reasons. They're doing it because they want to promote positive atheism and they want to make some money so they can keep promoting positive atheism. Not necessarily you need to buy a bunch of books and t-shirts, but they make great gifts. Another one is utilizing services that provide funding. If anyone knows Phil Ferguson, he's got the Polaris deal out there. Phil donates 10% of what money he makes towards events like this. He funds a lot of these events. You're telling me something? I got lots of time. I'm way beyond schedule. He donates a lot of money, and a lot of time he talks. If anyone was here last year, went to the Skepticon, and he was the DJ. I mean, he is really super duper dedicated to atheism and skepticism and rationality, and he's made that part of his job. He's turned his being a financial advisor into being a financial contributor. But in order to do that, he needs customers. One thing I like about him is he's very straightforward. I hate to say I trust him because he's an atheist, but
Doesn't hurt.
yeah, it definitely doesn't hurt. And he's very straightforward. And he is very big. He's got his own show, actually, Phil Ferguson's show. Really creative name. Where he exposes these financial, I don't want to call them scams, but they're pretty tricky and they're built to make money for the financial institutions, not for the people who are giving them money. Kind of like churches. Churches are extremely good. Religion is very good at promoting what they do. one thing, they've got something to sell. They're going to save your soul. What are they going to save it from? Sin. How'd you get sin? You were born with sin. So you need to get rid of that sin. Now, how do you know you have sin? Because they told you. They're selling you something that you don't need, and people are buying it up like crazy. They're buying it with 10% of their income. Now, I'm not saying you should give 10% of your income towards things like this, like some money. And you know the money you give to things like this is actually doing something, rather than going to the Vatican or going in some preacher's pocket to buy a jet. Who's here familiar with prosperity preaching? You need to give me money because I need to buy a jet. You're not going to hear any atheists say that. So, the last thing is volunteering. This is mostly a volunteer-run conference. Most conferences really do rely on volunteers. Just being part of what's going on. And that's a multi-benefit task. One is it gets you more involvement. It gets you ability to do more of what you've come here to accomplish. Two, it helps you meet a lot more people. Because when you're doing stuff, people are like, oh, they're important, I'm going to go talk to them. But people like Laura Lane really appreciate that, and they really need people to help. And you can do, it's anything that you can do is always helpful. So you can either just be a nice person to Christians in a conversation, or you can do something like blog, or do videos, or you can volunteer, or you can lend some amount of financial help, assistance to those who are doing the things that you want to do. But so that's pretty much the end of what I had. I went through it pretty quick. Would anyone like to do a mock video? Nobody?
Doesn't that what happened now?
Huh?
Anytime later.
Or anytime later. I say that's pretty much my whole presentation. So, any questions? It's not really a question.
It's a same question.
So basically, rundown is be nice, be involved, and give money. Okay.